I thought it would be cool to, like, we started the very first episode with um, talking about our pregnancy
Yeah.
in Bible college.
Yeah. Mm.
And so just the concept of identity stories. An identity can be formed or set very intentionally, I think. Let's say by a mom reading to a kid or speaking over a kid or blessings, etc., all that kind
Mhm.
of stuff. But more often than not, we rarely do that, right? And then what teaches us or sets the identity in us are events and things that happen in life
Mhm.
that teach us something positive or negative.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking like, oh, it'd be cool to tell, some stories that we can remember of things that we think shaped us or shaped our identity for better or worse. Just as concepts of this is how this is how we think looking back we're formed. And so
So,
we could start with like the young age, like
mm,
0 to 10 or whatever, like stuff in there.
yeah.
It's probably lots, and it's probably, but it's so far back, it's kind of hard to remember every little thing. And it doesn't actually mean those stories actually formed our identity because we don't really know. Looking back, we might see it. So, but the point is, there is sort of the intentional setting of an identity, and then life that teaches you things, and other people teaching you things, through circumstance.
And we have a friend who would say the messages that were sent to you in circumstances that you believed can form the way that you see yourself and see God and stuff. And
Oh
so
yeah,
that's like what you're saying. That may not be intentional, but it's forming you, whether you like it or not. So,
exactly. Yeah. So
so
kind
what's your one of your stories that you were thinking about sharing?
well, the first one that comes to mind is, well, actually, even before this one, I just thought of it. So it's not a story like that I physically remember. Like we lived here in Toronto and my dad had to go do some research for his PhD. And so he was going to be going to London and Ghana, those two places, London, England, and Ghana in Africa for about a year. And so I think I was probably like 2, 3 years old at the time. And so, and I was trying to go as early as possible, but like that's something that I think I don't remember like the day he left. I don't remember the day he came back or anything like that. But I can imagine that at that age, 2, 3 years old, all of a sudden um, your dad's away. You don't understand the concept of time. So he's away. And so there's this vacuum, I guess, in a sense, in the home that maybe I didn't sense before because he was there for the first 2, 3 years. I don't know. But then also now you have basically my mom's almost like a single mom now. So what are the implications of that? Where it's like all the things she had to do and all that stuff. So I'm sure that had an effect, psyche or whatever. And then so the first idea that I had, or first story that I could think of, was this one time we had one of those plastic pools and, smallish, whatever. It sat on the deck. And so we're out on the deck and
Deck in a house or an
no,
apartment?
like an apartment.
Yeah.
I forget, before Charles Street. So, yeah. So I was like, yeah, fifth floor basically. So my sister and I are playing in this pool, this small pool. And, I'm sure there's some splashing, but it wasn't, I don't know. To my memory, it wasn't a big deal. And the neighbor down on the floor below us, or a couple floors below us, or whatever, came up to our floor, to our door. I don't know how she figured out it was us, and knocked on the door, and it was like, my mom opens the door and says, "Oh, your kids are splashing water out on the deck, on the, is it a deck? Balcony.
Balcony. Yeah.
Balcony, yeah,
Yeah.
out on the balcony." So so she comes and says, "Oh, stop doing that, blah, 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 bothering people downstairs." So I think we stopped doing it or tried to stop doing it or whatever. I'm sure. I don't know. And the lady comes up again. And I don't know how many times she came, but let's assume it was just the twice. But anyways, my mother got so mad at us for
Mhm.
doing this.
Mhm.
And because water was splashing or whatever. And this neighbor or this person downstairs was complaining. And she got so mad at us and this and this and this. And then I remember just being like this feeling maybe some injustice because again, this is I'm 2, 3, 4 years old here, so I don't know what. But the sense of we're not doing anything, like we didn't do all this, but now this lady's accusing us, and my mom's upset with us, and it's just this like weird, like again, I don't know what the emotion. I can imagine what it could have been, but I don't know what they were exactly. And so, but the weird thing was that, so I think she said, "Okay, you can't play out there anymore," and then we had to go back in or whatever, and I think then when my dad came home that night or whatever from work or school or whatever, my mother told, oh, the kids did this and this and this. And my dad's like, oh, there's a hole in the thing. You can't use that. There's a hole
In the pool.
in the pool. So that's why water was draining out and splashing down on people's
So it wasn't your
balconies.
fault after all.
So it wasn't our fault after all. I remember that just, I don't know what the like emotion I would have felt or whatever, but I remember that just, like, I remember that.
And you were so young.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like. Obviously, my dad was back from his research thing, so it must have been like 3, 4, 5, somewhere there. Maybe I don't know, somewhere in there. But yeah, just like how would that have affected me? I don't know. I think a little bit of like, oh, you didn't believe me, or yeah, just that sort of injustice of like someone's so angry, but you didn't do anything, but you don't know how to, to navigate that or whatever. And I think that was, yeah, that's a story. I'm sure it would have had some emotional, mental impact, whatever. I mean, in fact, I even remember, I mean, some of these memories are coming from, because we've done like therapy stuff or whatever through the years. And so maybe that story got raised there. I don't.
Well, when you think of the story now, like even right now, does it bring up a feeling for you at all?
Not necessarily. Maybe a little bit of like unfairness. Like, I don't know what that feeling
Injustice?
is. Yeah, just like, yeah, like, like I find now, like I don't like conflict and I don't like confrontation, stuff like that, because not because of that one incident, but I'm just saying in general, I want to avoid angry situations where I'm not in control or like someone's mad at me or whatever. And I mean, it could go all the way down to, oh, I want to be in someone's good graces or good books because I don't want to have that feeling of, someone's mad at me or again, doubt it's only that one story, but it's, a chapter along the way kind of thing.
So thinking about that story then, like in terms of identity and how that kind of shapes like how you respond to people or God or whatever, like, do you have any thoughts on, I know it's just one small incident, but so like we've discovered in our marriage that you're the one who in conflict will withdraw and run away from conflict, and I'm more the aggressor. So if you look at that for yourself, that story, maybe other scenarios, like how has that impacted your relationships or with God or with people? Like, how do you respond to things? And yeah, is there anything there that you can think of?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely less maybe like aggressive or like, yeah, I don't like conflict. So, and you can spin that into, you try to make things peaceful or, everything's okay all the time, or like something would have to be really bad or whatever for me to be like, oh, you need to do this or this, like to get angry about it. That's not saying maybe I don't have it. Like I don't get angry, but maybe I hide it or quell it because it's not worth the conflict, right? So like, yeah, what did that conflict teach? Or if like you want to avoid angry feelings from other people or bugging them.
Why?
Because you suck if you do, like, or you are, yeah, it's just uncomfortable. And also probably like, oh yeah, like the message being, oh, you're loved or you're accepted, or if anger is a way of showing that you are not accepted. Like if someone's angry with you, it's because they're rejecting you or they're like, and if somebody accepts you or loves you or whatever, then they're not angry with you. Right? So yeah, the thought of me going, I'm so mad at you kind of thing, I don't like, is like, oh my gosh, I'd have to be like okay with not speaking to that person ever again. Like, why would I do that? So if someone did it to me, then it's like, oh, that means that they are not done with me, but just very like, oh, I'm not. Yeah, like I am the cause of their anger as opposed to them having anger in themselves. So if I'm the cause of their anger, then I'm bad. I've done something wrong. And if I've done something wrong, then I'm not accepted or
now we're getting somewhere.
I'm disconnected.
We didn't know this would be a therapy session.
I was like, hey, hold on, what's your story? But yeah, I think that's part of
So back to the pool story. So your mom got really angry because you were splashing water over and over again. And then you find out, oh, you actually weren't splashing water. But your response to your mom's anger was to maybe withdraw or just like pull away.
Yeah, because you're trying to avoid
because you thought that her anger meant that you had done something wrong and that maybe you were wrong. Is that accurate? Like, I don't want to put words
Yeah.
in your mouth.
Yeah, in a sense. Again, I don't know if it's just that one incident. It's probably
Yeah.
an example of this, not so much like the cause of it or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there were other situations. Because again, I don't remember like her overall temperament at that age, but I think looking back over the balance of like it well into my teenage years or whatever, yeah, she was a lot more volatile, like more like
Strong and
yeah, like the
aggressive.
emotions on her, like Steve's kind of thing, whereas my dad was a lot more
Mm-hmm.
sort of peaceful and chill kind of thing. Yeah, so if that's happening when you're like a kid,
Mm-hmm.
then again, it's like, oh, avoid that, avoid.
Yeah. And so fast forward into our relationship, we've seen a lot of examples of that, where if I was upset about something, I would come very strongly at you
Mhm.
about things and maybe blame you, criticize you, say all these things to you, and you would never be aggressive back, like, I mean, verbally or emotionally.
Mhm.
You would usually either not say anything or you would completely withdraw.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For the most part, like, yeah, because that's what's going on. It's like, oh, this is not. I don't want to escalate this or make it bigger or this. It's already uncomfortable enough or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's that feeling of like, oh, if someone's angry enough to even say something, then they must really, 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 really be angry, or And so you're constantly trying to avoid trouble and drama, and be it again one on one or just generally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't want to do anything to get out of trouble. So yeah, that's a story. But yeah, what about you? Do you have a story?
I was thinking before when you started actually, and what came to me was like growing up for me was, I would say, like a lot of volatility in my home. And so there was my dad he was a police officer, he was in the military, struggled with lack of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
He also had a lot of his own trauma as a child and stuff. So he came into being a parent and whatever with a lot of that like hurt and pain, and that translated into a lot of frustration and anger and stuff. So I just remember like as a child always feeling like I was walking on eggshells, because if he was working midnight shift and he came home late, so he's sleeping during the day, and then if I was to like put my music on too loud or even like walking around clomping, he would notice like you're clomping, or banging something, or if, oh my gosh, God forbid that like I did something that my mom got upset about. And then so he would come out of his room. I had woken him up early and he would come out like lunging in terms of aggression and anger and frustration that I didn't get enough sleep, now you're banging and you're clomping around, you woke me up. But it would have been in a very aggressive, angry tone. And I remember that kind of stuff like happening a lot. And I know for me, like growing up and then even as an adult, I'm very sensitive to sound and to banging and noise. And I mean, you can attest to that. And I think that sort of effect on my nervous system was the fear of, oh, if I make loud noises, I'm going to get in trouble. And so it was my fear response to that, like what will happen, feeling like I had to kind of, not cower, but what's the word? Like hide away, be quiet, don't be seen, don't be too noisy. And so just often feeling small and feeling fearful kind of followed me throughout my life. And I know now, like even with our kids who are adults, like as they were growing up, they would notice that, loud noises, like banging, like things like that for me could actually be a little bit traumatizing to my nervous system. So I think that's an identity story that.
So would you say you were different then from your dad, or like almost the same?
Same. Yeah. So I started responding in a very similar way. And I think every person is different. So another sibling in my family, there's three of us, could have responded in a completely different way. Like I know for my sister, I would say she more shut down and closed down and numbed all that stuff. So she's pretty even keeled most of the time, but she probably had the aggressive aspect of my dad like more than I would have, because she was the firstborn, So usually as parents, like we mellow out as we get older. So I think how that affected me is just like a sense of kind of living in that fear space and like that anger response. I'm just trying to think of what the belief would have been that formed my identity.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of interesting too, because we're talking about like, okay, so you have two parents who, let's say, had anger, not issues, but anger. But the response to it was different. Like you became like your dad in terms of like your responses to it, whereas I was maybe it's a firstborn thing too, like whereas I kind of withdrew. So that's interesting. Like it's not like you're always like, but yeah, it's these people who are like different and separate from us, but who, because of the age or whatever that we're at, have a very different impact on our own identity and sense of self than, meeting somebody today who's angry in the street or angry in a bar or whatever, and you'd be like, it wouldn't affect you. It'd be like, whatever. The next day, you're not even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas when you're a kid, these situations that happen, again, that are unintentional do have a direct response, like effect on us. And you can see it. Like you can see it. The kids who are like confident and happy and joyful or whatever, you can kind of like, yeah, they're probably not in their room worried about whether they're going to get in trouble or not, right?
Yeah.
Like just maybe, but you don't know, right? Unless they're pretending out in public, whatever. And so like confidence and sense of and joy and all these things that we kind of like, these are admirable traits, come out of places where we're not afraid, or places where it's like, oh, I've learned that I'm okay. I've learned that it's safe to be myself. I've learned that it's safe to be around adults, or I know how, and again, that doesn't mean nobody can ever be angry or whatever, but it's the connection of anger to worth, or anger to, this is how I have to be to avoid this. Again, I would probably tell this, I don't know if it's a story, but like this example of a friend of ours who got upset at her daughter for, daughter did something silly or whatever, and sent to her room or whatever, like, and then later that night the daughter comes, the mom's forgotten it, and like it's like and says, oh, do you still love me, right? And of course, like, what are we talking about? Of course I do, because the mom's moved on and it can understand, oh yeah, it's got nothing my anger has nothing to do with my love for you. But to the kid who's getting a message of, oh, when I'm angry with you, I like you less, I love you less, you are not worth as much,
Disconnected.
you're disconnected, I'm rejecting you, I don't accept you, go to your room, kind of thing. Like, it's like, oh, okay, get away from me, blah, blah, blah. All those.
And it's not that the mother means any of that negative stuff.
No,
it's the message that comes to the child. Yeah. Intentionally.
Exactly. And so many of those situations all ramped up, all like sequential or like over the years, you can see how it results in a child who might be like, oh, I better avoid making people angry or upset, or else I won't be loved, or I will be disconnected. It's like exile. And you think of it, like, I mean, I often say like, go to your room or whatever, timeouts and groundings or whatever are the sort of modern version of a spanking kind of thing. It's like, oh, it's at least it's not physical and stuff like that. But I'm wondering too, like, it's in the realm of that exile. Yeah. Like, you are exiled. And if we're created for connection, and exile is worse than even physical, because it's that emotional thing of like, you are no longer part of this. Yeah. And we are banishing you out of the city or the town or whatever. So again, nowhere near as extreme, but go to your room, feels like a legitimate, non-abusive punishment. But again, what message is communicated? It's like, yeah, when I do this, when I do bad things, I am no longer part of the group. I am no longer part of the collective. And the only way to get back in is to do my punishment or to always be good, right? And so it's like everything's conditional now. And again, I don't have the answer to that. I'm not saying don't do timeouts and this, but I think it's like, you got to do it without breaking the connection, or do it in a way and like when there's a restoration, it's not just a restoration of, okay, you can come out of your room now, but it's there was never any separation here, right?
And the negative behavior of the child has nothing to do with the love relationship that you have with your child.
Right.
So when a child does something wrong, I know my mindset as a parent was always like, I felt like I can't hug you and show you love and stay as connected in this moment because you did something bad.
Right.
And if I stay hugging you, connected with you, then I'm teaching you that what you did was okay.
Exactly.
But what we have to do is separate, like we're talking about, the behavior from the relationship. And
Mhm.
I can still hug you and tell you I love you and hold you and comfort you, even when you did something that was not
Mhm.
good. And it's okay. It's not going to teach the child that that's okay, because you're still going to talk to them in the context of that loving, safe environment about, well, why is that thing not the best choice?
Mhm.
And you're still going to have those conversations
Yeah.
in a age appropriate way or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me, that's the biggest transition that I have come to in my mindset about all of this, like love and connection and stuff, is I don't have to separate your behavior from my relationship with you.
Mm.
I think that's a big thing.
Yeah. No, definitely. And then of course on the parent side, it's like it's hard because maybe you're angry about what the child did.
Mm-hmm.
You're upset because you've told them 10 times and or they crayoned all over the wall of your brand new house.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're throwing a tantrum in Walmart and it's just like, now I'm upset. But even there, like, what are we upset about? We're upset about maybe the disrespect or the shame. Like, oh, you're making me look bad in front of other people. I'm at Walmart and you're freaking out. Like,
Yeah. So then it becomes about me.
yeah,
It becomes about me, the parent, as opposed to what's going on with the child.
yeah, exactly. So I'm saying, like, even trying to do a connection moment then when you're so upset, it's hard because, like, I am mad that you colored all over a brand new wall or that you spilt glitter all over the furniture, let's say. I'm
Yeah.
just like, and in that moment to go try to do a connection, it's like, it's hard because, yeah, the child needs it, but your mind's not and heart are not there at all. You're just like,
Yeah.
and, so that's the interesting thing of like, how do we do that? And how do we keep that sort of front and center? And it's not that we're uncaring parents when you get upset.
No.
It's that the pathways that you have, the normal behavior is, or what you saw your parents do, or what all your friends do is like, this is how we parent. We're upset because you spilled glitter everywhere and it's so frustrating. And oh my gosh, and I don't have time for this. And that frustration just works itself out in a pathway.
Yeah. And I think probably the biggest thing, like you said, it's not about the emotion of anger. It's about learning how to change the automatic triggers and responses that we've developed over a lifetime. So with the pool thing, like if the belief that you had in the moment was like, oh my gosh, everyone's freaking out at me and it wasn't my fault. And in order to not feel bad, I'm just going to have to like go to my room and stay to myself and I'm not going to like respond to her or whatever. And so maybe that was reemphasized in your childhood again, other places. That becomes this pathway that's so natural to you in your brain. It's like a habit that you're not even in control of anymore. Yeah. So now you get married to me and it's like, this is just normal behavior for you. Like you just withdraw, keep to yourself, and it's not something you're even thinking about, and it's normal and it's safe and it seems right. But for you to do anything different, it's going to have to be an awareness of, I have this trigger. Oh, I respond in this way. What is actually the way that I want to respond to my wife now in these situations? And then like intentionally changing the way that you think about certain scenarios, right? So we're not saying that this is just like easy, okay, connection over, whatever. Like it takes retraining your brain and the way that you think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I say, you marry your parents.
Yeah.
Almost. Anyways, now do you have a story of maybe a positive or something like positively affected your identity or anything?
Yeah. So I'm thinking that there's a picture up on the wall behind me. I don't know if people can see it, but it's a picture of the farm where I went with my mom. Grew up on a farm, and that's like basically where in the summer and Christmas and stuff, that's where we would go. We would spend Christmas there. We'd spend like weeks in the summer there. Like it was a place that I looked forward to going to.
That's where she grew up?
That's where she grew up. Yeah. And I'm just thinking of like things that took place. Like at the farm, I had freedom to explore. It was like 200 acres. Like I had nobody telling me where to go, when to be back. We would run from the farm to my aunt's house, which was through a field. And, we rode horses and we like ran up into the barn and climbed up the bales of hay. And so I had this like freedom there as a child. And I know that ongoing through my childhood was a big part of my life. Like we used to have, we called them ATCs, but they were like 3-wheelers back when I was young. So my dad bought us 3-wheelers and we would go like to some random country road and just like ride them around. We did like cross country skiing, and it's probably other stuff's not coming to mind, but just like I remember doing a lot of things that were adventure. Yeah, so going to the farm for me meant like a lot of like freedom to explore, run to my aunt's house, which was like through the field to the next house, or like I could go anywhere on these 200 acres and I had nobody telling me like what to do or where to go. Me and my cousins would go into like a barn and climb up on the bales of hay. Incidentally, one year my cousin actually set fire to some of those bales of hay.
What?
So I'm glad I wasn't there then. I don't remember when that happened, but I'd ride on horses. And so I think a lot of that, like just um, instilled in me this passion for adventure and like exploration. And I feel like I'm a real, like flower child in the sense of like kind of thing, like adventure and freedom. I always enjoy that. And I love nature. And I feel like I love that part of me. That's just that exploration part and adventure part of me. So that's a very positive memory. So, I mean, and in saying that, like there's things that we look at as, the negative messages from our childhood, but with every person, there's also positive. I mean, even in the worst childhood, there's some positive somewhere. Yeah, I think it's really good because for me, I have a tendency to go kind of think about the negative stuff that happened in life a lot easier.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to also remember the good things and recall the positive things and the hopeful things, because I know that for me, I need to retrain my brain a lot to think in a more hopeful, positive way.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are good
Yeah.
memories for me. What about you? What's one of your best memories that you feel like informed you as a person?
I mean, a lot of positive ones. The one that I've thought of to share was it's one time we were riding our bikes, whatever, and we're coming back upstairs. So we took the elevator, and I think it was me, my sister.
Coming back upstairs?
Yeah, like from riding our bikes.
Okay, sorry, I was confused. Okay, you're riding your bike with your sister?
Like yeah, when we go home, so it's an apartment building.
Okay.
So we had to take our bikes and wheel them in, and then you press the button, and then the elevator comes, and this elevator takes you from the ground floor to your upstairs floor.
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Okay, why are you telling me like that?
You're like, what?
No,
Upstairs?
because I didn't know you went from riding our bikes to then we got in an elevator. I was like, okay, maybe a bit more context.
Yeah. So we were in the elevator. Is the thing. So a friend of mine, I can kind of picture his face, but I don't really know. I can't remember his name or anything. My sister and I. And somehow the elevator got stuck in between floors, or like just not like it didn't get all the way to our floor or whatever, or to the next floor. And so we were like thing, and I remember like we were ringing the bell and all this stuff. And then I remember just like trying to open the door and like, like pulling the thing apart and having I've never done that before. Like you don't do that, right? But it worked. Like I open and the doors open, and we were like, just like, I forget, like, but it wasn't higher than us. It was like, maybe a third or whatever. And there was a floor right there. It's all we had to do was like put our bikes up and climb up. And again, it wasn't big and thing. It was like probably because I don't remember it being like a big deal. But I remember just feeling like, oh, I'm like a superhero. like, oh, right? Like saving the day. And my sister's probably like, oh, my brother's so strong. And it was just this really, really cool, like, I remember memory of what I did, like I saved the day kind of thing. I do remember like then so we weren't on our floor. We had to go up the stairs the rest of the way. And I remember hitting like the pedal, like trying to get my bike up the stairs, whatever, and the pedal hitting my shin or whatever, and that hurting. But overall, like I remember just that sense of like, ooh, I can do things,
That's cute.
I don't know what age exactly that was. It was definitely before 8, but so 6, 7, somewhere there. And that was just this sense of agency and like, oh, look, I can do things, And when I'm in a pinch or when like something bad happens, like I'm okay. Like, I mean, and again, not just strength, but it could be also, but look, I don't panic when something goes wrong, or
Mm.
I don't know, maybe I did panic, and this part of that was the panic, right? Of trying to, but you do something and something good happens, the feeling you get of, oh my gosh, I'm so strong, or oh, I can do things, or whatever that feeling is the thing that then forms the identity that makes you go, oh yeah, I'm this kind of person. And that's an important thing for us, like in all this stuff. It's not the action or the event so much as how it made us feel, that the feeling goes down deep. Like that's why there's a lot of things that we're, for good or bad, that we don't actually remember. We don't remember the story. We don't remember the events around the situation, but we remember how it, and we don't know where the feeling came from, but there's feelings there. Oh, I'm afraid of spiders. Oh, I'm afraid of snakes. Oh, I'm afraid of this. Or I don't like being around these kinds of people. I don't like this. Like whatever it is. And it's not usually, like sometimes there's things we remember, but sometimes it's just I had a feeling, or I have this feeling, and that taught me to either do more of the things that get me that feeling or avoid the things that bring that feeling. And so that's why it's really hard with identity stuff, because between those ages of, whatever, 0 to 6 or whatever, there's a lot of unintentional messages that can happen outside of your control, right? And why we think it's so important to do the intentional identity planting, right? Sitting and saying, you are this, you are this. It seems almost like cheesy or whatever, but it's like so important, because they're going to get those messages for better or worse somewhere else. Someone's going to tell them you're this. Someone's going to say you're not smart. Someone's going to say you're not pretty. And whether they do it explicitly or it's just a feeling you get, if someone didn't, you didn't buy me candy. Well, you don't like me because, and the enemy whispers in, social media whispers in, like school whispers in, like all these things, messages come across that are not intentional. Well, some of them are, but but it just, and so that's why it's so important, and even telling these stories is because stories inform how we think
Hmm.
and what we believe. Feelings, especially, uh, inform how we think and how we believe, and most of those feelings come from unintentional situations. So,
Yeah. And the intentional part of it, like you're saying, like, I think most of the time we don't know to, how should I say, we're not thinking that being intentional is important. Like, we're not really thinking about it in the
mm,
moment. We're just going through day-to-day life.
yeah.
Things are busy. Moms are busy going to work, cooking, changing diapers, or whatever they're doing. And we're not thinking in those moments, oh, I need to think about what are the messages that my child is receiving. So I know for me, that's part of it, like just the stress, allowing parenting to be a stressful situation rather than seeing the gift that we have, the ability to like pour into our kids, who
Mm,
they are and stuff. So even if it's just little things like recognizing that, stopping for a few minutes and just being able to breathe and sit with your child, look your child in the eye and just tell them that they're loved,
mm,
and also emotions are going to happen regardless of like it just is because of life. And so being able to recognize, like, as parents, like, our kids will have big emotions, our little babies will have big emotions. Emotions are not the problem. It's emotions are not good or bad, I guess I would say. It's in the moment being able to connect with your child to help them process what
mm,
they're feeling and teaching them that it's a safe place here, that we can always talk about and process together and be together, um, no matter what's happening around you, as opposed to um, there being a situation and someone gets angry and a tantrum happens and there's never been like a moment to sit together and just like love on each other in the
mm.
context of whatever happened. So yeah, I guess it's really important just to think about how can I be intentional every day
Yeah.
of showing that
I
connection.
think that's a big thing. Like, yeah, like intentional parenting. Like,
Yeah, because so often we just go through the
it's
motions
just
of the day.
autopilot. Yeah. And then autopilot set by previous generations because that's how they did it. Or,
Autopilot parenting.
yeah.
Is that a term?
I don't know. But like most of life is autopilot. Like
Yeah.
the stuff we do day to day, life wise, is just based on habits and pathways that we formed in our brains, over years. But it's we used to say like, oh, like when we had our first child when I was 25, you're
Something like that. I was 22.
22. But how, like for us, it was probably like, well, there's a lot of the trauma of what happened and just the like getting to grips, like you're still figuring out ourselves, let alone how to be great parents, et cetera, et cetera. So you're kind of just doing what you know,
Yeah.
for better or worse.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know, right? And then maybe like, oh yeah, we look at, 20 years later, well, we would do it like this and like this. 20 years later, yeah, sure. With hindsight and, being 2020, you can be like, oh yeah, I would do things totally different. And I guess what we're saying is like, yeah, I would do things intentionally and be very, very like knowing the consequence or the impact of our words and our actions and stuff. Like, and again, we'll probably talk this example a lot, like in the movie The Help, bless you. But in the movie The Help, the maid tells the young girl, like, I forget her name, but she says, no, you is smart, you is important, you is kind, all those kind of things. And we know exactly why she's doing it. And that very intentional declaration of identity to this kid we know, like, we don't have to, it doesn't have to be explained to us. We know, like, oh my gosh, that's going to make such a difference in her life, kind of thing. And especially because that kid was so, I think, not feeling those things and wasn't getting that from her mom, that those words lifted her up, And so, but it was done so intentionally. We understand that everyone watching goes, oh, why is she doing, we're not going, why is she doing that? We go, oh, that's so good. But then we don't do it because maybe it feels cheesy. Maybe it's like, oh, I'm only going to tell you you're smart if you do something smart.
Well, yeah, when you act smart.
Exactly.
Quote
I'm
unquote.
only going to tell you you're pretty when, look, you got dressed for this special event and you look so pretty. But they've put makeup on or whatever. They've really gone out of their way to look pretty, as opposed to they just woke up. There's just a normal situation, use importance. Like, we'll speak to things when there's evidence of it or when there's an occasion for it, but not necessarily just because. So then it becomes, oh, if I do something smart, then I'm going to get praise. And if I don't do something smart, I'm going to get like criticism or whatever. And so you slowly begin to go, the kid starts saying, oh, my behavior leads to this, good or bad. And so, yeah, again, it's just, if we're intentional about it and we're doing it regardless of circumstance, and every day they're hearing, you're smart, you're smart, you're smart, no matter how many dumb things they do, it's like, you're smart, you're this, you're special, you're this. That becomes the main message. It's like when anybody gets criticized, it's like they say, oh, you need 10 positive things to overwrite that one negative thing. And that's us as adults. So what more as a kid where you're like, hey, I don't, yeah.
And even if like the intentionality is always affirming the worth and value of a child, irregardless of the actions that they do. So, because that's one of our main messages, is that we are valuable. We're innately valuable because of who God is and who God made us to be. And it does not change based on our behavior. So, because sometimes I know for me in the past, it's hard to affirm maybe someone when you're like, oh, but I actually don't see that you're smart necessarily or whatever.
Exactly.
But that's the wrong way to look at it. It's like, it's the value of the person, the innate value of the person on the inside because of Christ in us that we're affirming.
Right. And seeing what God sees in us. Right. So, the easy example is like Gideon. And he's like afraid and he's on the threshing floor and he's like, just minding his business, really hiding from all the enemies who are like, rampaging through, the countryside. And then an angel appears and says, hey, mighty man of valor, right? And it's like, who are you talking to? It's not me, because I'm not mighty. But what he's speaking is how God saw him, right? And who he eventually became. But, again, God seeing the end from the beginning, or seeing like, here's who you are. You're not these other things, and life has taught you these things. Circumstances taught you these things. These messages from people or situations, your feelings have taught you you're not this. But I say you are this, and that's your identity. And learning how to become that is like the process. But
believe that.
To believe that.
Yeah.
But again, we say that as adults, It's like, what if you knew that all along from the time you were 2 years old, 3 years old? I am this, I'm this, I'm this. This is how God sees me. This is how my parents see me, right? You're going to have stuff in life that says the opposite. Satan's going to come along and say the opposite. Social media is going to come and say the opposite. But
That foundation.
yeah, exactly. Like it's really hard to discern a lie if you don't know what the truth is. Somebody comes and lies to you and you have nothing, then it's like, oh, okay, I guess, especially if they're an authority like a teacher or someone, a celebrity on social media or whatever, you're going to be like, well, I guess that's the truth, because there's a vacuum of truth, so like then it just fills it. If you've grown up every day hearing, I am smart, I am smart, I am smart, I am smart, and then you get to school and you get a C or a D or whatever, you're like, okay, I have to figure something out. Something's wrong here, right? But at least now you're not going, I am dumb, I am dumb, I am dumb. So, and especially if you can go back home with that D grade and show your parents and say, hey, help me out with this, because all through, before you ever went to school, there's so many times where you messed up and did things wrong and you knew you could go to them. And so now that's no different. Right. But most of us grew up where I got to hide that stuff because my parents, they love me and like me when I do good things, when I'm smart, when I'm this. And when I'm not those things, they don't like me, or they get mad at me, or I'm going to get punished or whatever. And so later on in life, I don't want to bring my report card home. We used to they'd give you your report card and it's sealed or whatever. And then they'd say that you take it home, and we would go home and my parents would be at work or whatever, and we'd like steam open the envelope, like you'd put it over hot water and you'd like open the envelope slowly, like and peel the thing off just so you could go read what it was, just to prepare yourself for like, okay, is this going to be a good day or a bad day? If it's going to be a bad day, it's like, okay, but at least you knew, and you put it back in and then you sealed it.
And I wonder if your parents like actually knew every time that you did that, but they let you think they didn't know.
I don't know. Like we were good. So yeah, but it's that stuff, right? It's like the fact you even have to do that or think that way is because you're worried about their reaction and what that means for you. Yeah. So anyways, the point being, like, I think if parents are intentional about setting this sort of unconditional sense of identity in a kid, disconnected from behavior, that it's not a guarantee that the kid's never going to do anything wrong. It's more of like, when they do something wrong, they're not going to, or when they get a wrong message or whatever, or a lie comes to them, they're going to at least be able to deal with it.
Have tools and resources to pull from.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
no, that's good.
Anyways, but next time we should talk about our teenage years. You had a lot of stories.
A lot of stories.
I don't have any stories. No, but yeah, we could talk about those.
What rating are the stories supposed to be?
R-rated.
Next
What
time.
are you talking about? This is an R-rated podcast. Already loved. Already loved.
Okay.
Alrighty. I think that's enough. Thank you very much. Like us, subscribe, press that button, do that thing. All right. We'll see you next time. My name's Batsarai.
I mean, next time you need to figure out what camera we're looking at.
You look at that one. That's easy.
I was looking over here.
All right. What's this thing for?
I don't know.
Stop.